of the public comment period, when prompted, please unmute yourself and say your name to register. Speakers must be registered in order to be recognized by the chair, and if you are unable to attend the meeting remote, please submit written comments again to the Seattle Community Police Commission at ocpc@seattle.gov. The Seattle Community Police Commission acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Coast Salish people, including the Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and Duwamish people, past and present. With humility, we recognize how much we benefit from living on their land and water. The Seattle Community Police Commission honors and lifts up these tribes, and we hope that this acknowledgement will encourage authentic relationships with urban Native people and all Coast Salish tribes. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Reverend Hunter.
Morning, everyone, and I will be facilitating our meeting today. And first, if we'll just take attendance. Prachi Dave.
Present.
Good morning. Douglas Wagner. I don't see Douglas. Reverend Harriet Walden.
I'm here.
Good morning. And Austin Field.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Joseph Saya. Don't see Joseph yet. Alina Santillan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Erica Newman.
Present.
Good morning. Tasha Johnson.
Good morning. I'm
Good
present.
Good morning. Lajea Washington. Don't see her yet. Suzette Dickerson.
Present.
Oh, good morning. Officer Mark Mullen.
Officer Mark Mullins is present.
Good morning. And Patricia is present. So great. Need to approve the draft agenda and minutes. Is there a motion to receive the agenda as distributed?
I'll make a motion to just to receive the minutes as distributed. I like the way you say distributed. Thank you.
Oh, the agenda first.
Oh, the agenda. Okay, I'll do that one.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second for the agenda?
I'll second. This is Alina.
Thank you. It's been approved. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the draft agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. That motion is carried. And now a motion to receive the draft minutes. I guess I should ask if there were any corrections first. Not hearing any. Is there a motion to receive the minutes?
I'll make a motion to receive the minutes.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
This is Alina. I'll second.
Thank you, Alina. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as distributed. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Great. The minutes are approved. There are no action items for us to review in this meeting. And so we will just move right into department updates.
Reverend Hunter, sorry to interrupt. Douglas just joined.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Douglas.
Good morning. I'm so sorry.
Well, we're glad you're here. So as we move into the department updates from the City Council, I see Newell.
Thank you, Reverend Hunter. The Public Safety and Human Services Committee met most recently last week on the 26th. As a result of that, the full City Council voted to approve Joel Merkel's appointment to the Community Police Commission yesterday. So that action is now taking place. It's a council appointment. And thank you to the executive director and the co-chairs for their assistance with that, and to Reverend Walden for testifying in committee. At the most recent committee meeting, there was also a presentation on the criminal case backlog from City Attorney Davison. There was a presentation on SPD staffing and discussion of a resolution and council bill on hiring incentives. Those are scheduled for a vote at the May 10th committee meeting, the next upcoming meeting. And the Human Services Department also did a briefing on gender-based violence investments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Newell? Thank you. Is there an update from the mayor's office? Okay, how about the monitoring team? Ron?
Yes, ma'am. There's not a lot of news from the monitoring team. As you may be aware, the city filed and received an order approving their request for an extension with regard to their comments and contributions to the assessment report. And so they have received a 2-week extension, and we're sort of in a holding pattern until they've completed their work, after which presumably this assessment will be filed. Seattle VMAP, which is assemblage of virtually all the parties involved in this reform effort, meets at today, and the topic will be on the accountability system as a whole. That is the gist of my report. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask him?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Ward a question, because one of the questions is that sometimes we don't always get the email, and then we have to get it forwarded to us. And so if we're a party to the consent decree and all of that, well, then we get out. The monitor doesn't send us the email directly about this meeting today. It had to be forwarded to us, and so I just wanted to make note of that, and I just wanted to let him know that this is not the first time that we've been excluded from the email, that someone has to forward us to that, and that just doesn't speak as a partner in this effort. Out of all these years, we're still not being recognized. So just want to make note of that, and I'm not sure I can be at that meeting today, so that's why I'm making that note here. Also remember that the judge ordered the mayor to fix the accountability system, and this has never been fixed yet. So anyway, just wanted to put that part of the public record. Thanks.
I will certainly communicate that promptly, and I hope that the CPC will have representation at the BMAP meeting today.
I'm sure they will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there an update from the DOJ, Department of Justice?
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Brittany Cierneo from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm not seeing Matt on the call this morning, and I do not have an update to share with you.
Thank you so much, Brittany. How about an update from the Office of Police Accountability, OPA? No. Okay.
Reverend Hunter, we do. Katie, we're promoting her to a panelist now.
Okay. There she is. Hi.
Good morning. I'm here. Thank you. I'm worried now it's going to be a bit anticlimactic after that, but thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it. Not any major update from OPA, continuing on, still a little bit in that limbo as we wait for the new OPA director. But the hiring team is meeting with our staff this week to kind of do some focus groups to see what are priorities for the staff as well, before, and then it'll move to the city. So that is exciting to hear. And additionally, we did make offers, and we're just waiting to finalize backgrounding, which is slowing down our process, for 2 civilian investigators as well as a civilian investigation supervisor. So we're hoping to be fully staffed My goal would be June 8th, but I know we're up, it's outside of our control right now to do that backgrounding. And so we're looking, I think safely to say by the end of summer, which will be really exciting to have. So hopefully fully staffed, ready to go again. So those are the main OPA updates at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Are there any questions or comments for Katie? Okay. Is there an update from the Office of the Inspector General?
Hi, good morning. This is Miroslava Mesa from the Office of Inspector General. Well, we have not many, but they're very similar to OPA's updates. So we have been working hard to be, again, fully staffed. So the openings for a video specialist and for a person to do all the work on all the surveillance technologies analysis has been closed yesterday, and we are going to proceed to do interviews and analyze the applicants. So we're very excited that we're moving forward to fulfill those spots. The same with the remainder of the investigations spots. There's one that has been open, and we're also moving toward the selection and looking to fill those spots. The other thing that we've been working on is in closing our annual report, and we are aiming to be done in this by the end of May, a worst case scenario. And we've been just working with the city, like with the office of the city auditors, with the surveillance technologies, and with other organizations, just to make sure that we have the know-how to continue to assess that mandate. And that's all we have so far. Continue working with the things that are in our annual plan. We have not been deviating and focusing on the deception and bruises policy that SPD is updating. We are making sure that we bring as many stakeholders to the table so they can hear about how that affects different communities. So that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miroslava. I think that's the end of our updates. Department
is SPD on the list?
Not on my list, but I see that Mr. Maxey is here. If you have an update or a word for us, we would welcome that.
Thank you, Reverend Hunter, and good morning.
Morning.
I think the primary update that I have for SPD is that we continue to develop our relational policing program. We have, I think I've mentioned it before, but we have branded this the Before the Badge program, in which we are bringing in new recruits and putting them through a series of 45-day training prior to entering the CJTC State Academy, where we're introducing them to the city writ large, including electeds, including community members, really imparting department values into the recruits and working on wellness concerns, trying to embed that early in their careers so as they progress, they can circle back to that and have foundation to draw upon. We still have an outstanding position for a relational policing coordinator that's going to help guide that program and development, as well as the relational policing concepts across the department. I think that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, just wanted to comment here really quickly and apologize for the correction to the agenda. SPD was taken off from the last agenda because Brian actually presented. So we just want to make sure that we add that back. So okay. My apologies, that was just an error.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Could I make an announcement though? Thank you.
Sure.
Before COVID, our parties and the partners are only came and presented once a month, and then during COVID, we were meeting every week, and then the departments started coming at every meeting. I mean, because we asked them to, and so what we would like to do is to go back to our original pattern, and that was to have them to come once a month. To come in and give us an update, because things are opening up, and all this was COVID and we did things differently. So I think in June things will be a lot different. And so we just wanted to let our partners know that we appreciate the fact that they have been here at every meeting, which has been like a burden. You know, I mean, it's like they had to get ready every other week for this. And in the past, it was just once a month. So we really appreciate your willingness to come every week, whether you have no update or an update. We appreciate your willingness to do that, and we'll give you some relaxed time, and we'll go back to, we'll decide with the partners whether it's going to be the first meeting or the second meeting, and then that opens up a space when we can have some of the other departments, I mean, other city agencies can come and give us an update and give us some information about what they do for the city and how we can partner with them. Like an example, the Office of Civil Rights, I mean, we can invite them and they can come. So we can still fill those other spaces, but they would be differently. So thank you for your patience to let me interrupt, and just wanted to let our partners know we really appreciate them coming every other week since COVID. Since COVID, we've been doing that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Walden. Austin?
Oh yeah, just wanted to thank Reverend Walden for that announcement too. I think that idea makes a ton of sense, and I'm excited to see who else we can invite. City agencies, I think the Office of Civil Rights is a great idea. So I'm really excited Reverend Walden suggested that. And then also, you know, additional community organizations that represent folks affected by policing, individuals affected by policing. I think this is great, and just wanted to thank Reverend Walden for it because I think it opens up a lot of flexibility.
Welcome. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Austin. Well, next we will move into our time of public comment, and public comment is welcome by the CPC. Individual speakers will be provided up to 2 minutes to comment about items on the meeting agenda. Jacqueline, would you please start our time for public comment?
Absolutely. Looking at the CPC inbox, there are no requests for public comment at this time. I do see we have one hand raised for Cynthia from the participants, so I will give them privileges and also start the screen as well for the timer. So let me share my screen first. And let me give privileges. Cynthia, you should have privileges now. Please let me know.
Can you hear me?
You're a bit low on my end.
Maybe I can make my mic louder in the settings. Okay, I just raised my mic volume in the settings.
Okay, perfect. Great. And we'll start the timer when you start.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Spees. I'm a District 6 resident. I just wanted to let the commission know that this is probably normally outside their normal scope of work, but that the State IT Privacy Department is currently hosting an ongoing public comment period on the last group of surveillance technologies that are being retroactively reviewed. Retroactively as in the process for reviewing them that passed via ordinance passed after the city departments already had procured the technologies. These last group of technologies are all SPD technologies, so they might be of interest to the group. And the IT department, when working with city council, intentionally organized these so that the most concerning or complex technologies were later, so they kind of eased into these technologies. So since we're now in the last group, this is going to be the most complex or potentially concerning technologies to be reviewed. The public comment period on them is open until May 20th. And there is one other public engagement meeting that is on May 18th, where if you wanted to attend and ask any questions or just even listen in and see what the rest of the public is asking, you can do that. You can go to seattle.gov/tech/initiatives/privacy/surveillance-technologies, and that'll be the landing page for more information how to get involved. I'm not with IT, I'm just a member of the public. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else who is interested in providing public comment? Reverend Hunter, I think we're good to go.
Great. Thank you, Jacqueline. And thank you, Cynthia, for your comments and that information. Is there, let's see, I'll wait till you take the timer down. Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to comment on the public comment? Austin?
Could we capture that that link that our commenter gave us? It flew past me a little fast, but I did find that very interesting. So if we can get that, that would be helpful.
Agreed. I was unable to, it was a little long. Cynthia, if you can hear me, this is Executive Director. If you could, if you don't mind, send that link to us to the ocpc@seattle.gov email account so we're all able to be able to follow up.
Sure. And if anyone has questions, like I'm not with the city, but I'm also reviewing these technologies, so feel free to ask me questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know if the spot shot is part of the, you know, if any of the technology might include the spot shot, because I know some people in the community was asking for the spot shot that would absolutely give the police a more of an accurate count of how many shots being fired in some communities, but also get maybe a fix on where the shots are coming from. And I know that my organization, stepping away from CPC, I know that mothers have been a supporter of the spot shotter. So just wondering if that's part of some of the new technology that would be considered, or would you know that?
A spot shotter is not in the group of technologies currently going for review or previously. So the city maintains a master list of surveillance technologies, and it's not on that list. And the master list is covering retroactive. That is what the departments have already procured. My understanding is that there had been discussion in, I want to say like 2017, 2018, something around there about SPD maybe procuring it. And I don't remember if they actually did a pilot in like the South Seattle area or if they just talked about it, but I don't believe that they procured it because that should have been in scope and it's not on the master list. So I don't think that they did.
They did a pilot under, they're supposed to do a pilot under Murray because there was a big announcement about it. And I know that there's been some conversation last fall about it, and so I didn't know if they had it dropped off or not, because there's a section of the community that would really benefit from that technology as it relates to reducing gun violence in the South end of town, where it's most pronounced, and downtown. See, there's Mr. Maxey might know some information about the spot shotter.
Yeah, good morning. You're correct in the history. There was a federal grant to do a pilot of ShotSpotter that went to procurement, and ultimately the city stood down because of concerns around surveillance technologies and the determination that the technology is not helpful without cameras associated with it, which caused controversy in the Seattle community. You know, essentially when the shots are fired, cameras would rotate along arterials to see if they can catch persons or vehicles fleeing from the scene, rather than just drawing officers to a location where shots had previously been fired, where they pick up shell casings. We're already doing that relatively reliably. Right now, we are exploring the technology again and working with the city to figure out what the best pathway for that is. And then once we do, we will have to submit it under the surveillance ordinance for privacy and surveillance assessment as a technology that we intend to acquire. So in process, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Well, the reason why we support it because the people who are against the technology don't live on the South end. And in some place, we have to have a clear directive that sometimes the people who are most infected need to be listened to. And that's why we supported it, is because other people who concerned like we are, but they're concerned in the other way. And people shoot people in the daytime because they're not going to go to jail. I mean, and that's a proven fact. So some of this technology would absolutely give police a chance to apprehend somebody. And if we could apprehend somebody and get some convictions, the shootings always go down like they did in the 90s when you were able to absolutely corral some of this stuff. So, but again, the people who are being affected are not being listened to. It's the other voices who live in the other districts, not the people, not the 81 mothers who are weeping and all the other mothers who are crying. They don't have a voice at this event or any other venues out there. It's all, no one is listening to them. So I bring their water. I carry the water for the mothers who children have been killed also, because those Black lives matter too. And as a mother who's buried a child, I understand and I stand with those mothers all the time. And I'm gonna always bring their voice because only when you've lost a child, you know how to stand with other mothers. And all of the mothers, also the mothers who children have been killed by the police. We're not leaving out anybody, but those other mothers, sometimes they're not at the table. And I know this new administration here is carving out a place for the mothers to have a voice in the city around gun violence, and it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Walden. Thank you, Brian. And I saw Malik's hand up for just a quick moment. I don't know if there's a comment there.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Brian and of course Reverend Walden to giving this discussion visibility. I would just say to those who have, you know, the historic knowledge about where this got caught up in the system and how we can give visibility to it now, please, you know, send me a note from the vantage point that I have to help influence these conversations around the city. I'm happy to do so. So please, let's continue this, because I will commit to getting this done internally, because I feel strongly to Reverend Walden's comments on this topic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Felicia.
Thank you, Reverend Hunter. I want to speak as a community person. So as Reverend Walden always said, I'm gonna step away from the from CPC. But as a community person, I am and past chair of the African American Advisory Council for several years, for a few years there. The subject of the shot spotter had come up at that time, and we had many conversations, which at that time Brian Maxey was with the department and was able to shed light on the technology in some of these community meetings. And so there were a lot of questions and from the community at large about the technology, and as he was stating about the cameras. I know that the technology has greatly improved, so I'm excited to hear that it will be revisited. And for the bulk, the people in the community did want it, just like Reverend Walden said, did want the shot spotter, but a lot of people were skeptical of the federal grant and, you know, the cameras and things like that. So I just offer to at this point to say, whatever happens and whatever comes down the pipe with the shot spotter, that the community is really kept in the know of what's happening with it, what the technology is, the full explanation. Because if it gets implemented, or, you know, there's not an in-depth conversation in this community, it's going to be like the watchtower that they put in Safeway. You know, it's like they don't know enough about it to be on board with it, misunderstanding what it brings in you know, what it would do for our community. Also, I just would like to offer to Reverend Walden and I, on our community side, have several contacts and people that we you know, have been talking to directly. And so if if needed, whatever comes down, Brian, please know I have a very good contact as well. And Malik, I'll be happy to talk with you too about um, about anything I can do to help push this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Felicia. Any other comments on this topic? Appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if we could move into the commission co-chairs report and update. So, co-chairs?
Well, as we just heard, we're going to have a new commissioner here really soon that's coming on, and we need that. Also, we will be reaching out to, the commissioners and to asking them about, about the commitment and what the assignments that they signed up for. And we're still out recruiting new commissioners. That work is still ongoing. And I think I think VD might have an announcement about from Catherine. Is that? And so I'll turn it over to her. She might have an announcement from Catherine. That was one of our co-chairs. Such a kind person. Just such a kind person. Thank you. I turn it over to Director Grant.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Walden. We've all had the pleasure of being able to work with Catherine, who was one of the co-chairs who stepped down for a little bit to be able to take a leave of absence. And she has recently resigned due to other commitments and starting a new position, which was the reason why she had took the leave of absence. And so was able to thank her in a more intimate setting, but also wanted to thank and acknowledge her very publicly here. The energy that they brought, the work that they had done, and like Reverend Walden mentioned, just their kindness in general was just really appreciated. It was a breath of fresh air amongst the commission. We definitely hate to lose her. And
Dr. Pinto also, they came as a team, Dr. Pinto and Catherine, and such kind people, And one thing about kindness, this leaves an indelible mark on your soul when you meet people who are kind and so just really put that out there. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. But it also just speaks to, and I'll wrap with this, it speaks to who they are and what they thought about the commission and the work that they did, that they have also offered to continue to follow along with the work and ask that we reach out if we need any continued support into the future. So just wanted to thank you, Reverend Walden, for bringing it up. Wanted to just take a moment to thank her for her work that she had done at the commission and just publicly acknowledge her.
Thank you, Brandy. Is there any information or update on the co-chair elections that I think might be happening at some point?
No, well, we postponed to the end of June, and we're still recruiting, and we asked people, to step up, and one of the things we thought, if we would rotate the co-chair, the facilitating of the meetings, we might get some interest to see that it's not that hard, and that we can all learn to do this. And so we're still working on that piece for looking at the end of June, because I know Douglas is going to take a break, a well-deserved break after finishing up his master's degree, plus doing this work. So we'll give him a big round of applause because he's dependable and working and going to school. So just really thanks to that. But we're still recruiting and asking people. Especially there's we got a few commissioners that we will be reaching out to see if they can step up and help and do this and have a lot of fun in the meantime.
Thank you, Reverend Walden. And congratulations to Douglas that he finishes up his master's degree, or he finished. So.
Pachi has her hand up.
Yes, Pachi.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, absolutely. Congratulations, Douglas, for your incredibly hard work. And yes, absolutely a well-deserved break. I had a question, maybe going back to the commissioner appointments. And I think just catching up on kind of what our process is around those appointments. I feel like a while ago we had a discussion about, potential appointments being kind of engaged in a community vetting process, kind of like a process by which, kind of community members, especially CPC appointments, of course, right? Going through a process by which, kind of we get community member input. I'm wondering if that was something that we are still thinking about or still doing, or we did with respect to any recent appointments. So just a question for the group.
Well, the recent appointment was already vetted and had already and had been trying to. It was a city council appointment and had been approved a few months, actually way last year, and the appointment never rolled along, and so that process happened under the. I mean, it happened so long ago that it was a waiting list. I mean, because you were involved with that. I mean, remember, because when we were co-chairs, we eventually had a waiting list. Mm-hmm. And I think that Mr. Merkel was on that waiting list from the city council because he was there. He came through. He was a city council appointee, and he had applied through the city council through the public safety chair. Okay, so we haven't had any new commissioners to come to us under the process that you're talking about. That process is still available. And then when Carlene stepped down, she recommended someone to the previous mayor's office, and that was their process. And so it was approved from that process because she recommended him as a replacement for the Native American seat.
Sure, yeah.
But the process that we worked on is still there. We just haven't had it. And I think the mayor is probably getting ready to do some appointments. And so that process was getting to go again. And I believe the city council, we only have one seat, and that's the civil rights attorney seat. And so all the other seats that are available are from the mayor's office and the city council. And and I believe that the mayor's office have some names. I'm not sure, but next time they come to give us an update, we can ask that. And I don't know if the city council has any names or anyone that just applied that they want us to use a process that you talked about and to come to us, but we don't know yet. So we don't have anyone that we know about that's going to be coming up next. And I think if Mr. Newell, if Newell is still on there, he might be able to speak for the city council because we don't have anyone today to speak for the mayor's office. But that process is still there.
Okay, yeah, and I think just I think a couple of things just maybe for us to kind of keep in mind for future conversations is that, of course, like the city council and mayor, can of course propose particular commissioners for appointment to the CPC, and of course we have our own appointments. And I think. And again, like kind of going back to the process that we kind of thought about before, I'm just wondering what kind of what we can do in terms of making sure that, everyone who is potentially an appointee to the CPC, is kind of brought up for like public kind of consideration and thoughts and input and so on and so forth. Before that happens. And of course, the city council and mayor's office can absolutely move forward with their appointees, so of course there's, their process. And of course there's our process, but it seems to me that it makes sense for us to kind of revisit the previous conversations around what does it look like for the entire commission to have input, whether or not, what does it look like for the entire commission to have input previous to the appointment of particular commissioners or any commissioners really. So that's all I was thinking about.
Well, I agree that the process should continue, but what we did in the past is that whoever the mayor and the city council brought forward, all we did was interview them to let them know about the work You know, and that was with some commissioners and staff. I mean, and the co-chairs at that time, because a lot of times people say yes, but they don't understand the workload. And so I know that process you're talking about, and that because it is commissioner-led, you know, work. I mean, the staff is there to carry out the work that, you know, that we bring forth. And so it's really important for that process to understand that it's more than just coming to the meeting every other
exactly.
week.
Yeah.
It is absolute an assignment. It is essential that people take an assignment. It's essential. It's opening up again that people be out in the community. We also represent a district. And so it's essential that people be out in their district so they can bring back information. And COVID put, you know, I mean, everybody uses COVID. COVID is the big excuse for the world.
It's a big, it's a big deal for sure. The reason why I was thinking, I think to your point, Reverend Walden, was that, you know, maybe if we bring people to, or like bring these up during commission meetings, right, it would diffuse that like additional output of time for the interview process, right? So, you know, we wouldn't necessarily ask for like individual commissioners to be a part of like that interview process as much as just like bring it to the group during these commission meetings or commissioner meetings. And therefore, you know, we would kind of do, I mean, like two birds with one stone. You know what I mean? Like we're just kind of trying to kind of address the broader issue while understanding that people have a premium on their time. And so to me, it makes sense. Potentially, we can talk about this down the line, but like we could add an agenda item to the general agendas about, you know, kind of potential additional commissioners and having a conversation about what that would look like. Those are just a couple of thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prachi. Now I guess we can move along to the executive director report.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to add to what Prachi, thank you for bringing up your points. As someone that came on originally as a commissioner, it was extremely helpful to go through the process of, after I met with council, who I actually applied through, being given the opportunity to meet with staff and the co-chairs at the time. That was extremely helpful for me making the decision about what the commitment would look like, the work, and just get a good sense of the energy of the commission. And so I obviously didn't do it publicly, but I felt like it was a really key deciding factor in the decision to come on board to the commission. So definitely noted, Prachi, what you're bringing up, have some more thoughts about it. And so would love to be able to connect and maybe have a more in-depth conversation about what that could look like, about doing it. Like you said, the two birds, one stone. But maybe that's something we can all discuss further, like in governance or something like that, but would love to continue that conversation is all I wanted to add. For updates, I just have a few. First, in just the kind of honor of celebrating the work that Catherine had did and thanking her, I also want to just take a moment to do a bit of a shout out for Nia Franco for all the hard work that they've been doing around the work groups. You all, there's a tremendous amount of work that's uplifted in those meetings, minutes, letters, drafting, correspondence, recommendations, you know, coordinating, making sure that a lot of the byproducts of the work that ends up coming up to the commission for you all's approval, recommendations, and feedback. I just want to thank them for a lot of the work that they've been uplifting, and also point out too that we're able to do that work because of you all, for you all, and with you all. And so it's really helpful to when everyone is engaged and participating. So I also want to just thank the folks that everyone that's been showing up and participating and helping move that work along too, as part of the commission. So thank you, Nia. I know you're on, but I just wanted to say that this morning. Other thing too, I know that the OPA director search, the first committee meeting officially started, and I wanted to thank Douglas and Reverend Hunter for participating from the commission. I don't know how much you all would be able to share, but I would love for, if there are things that can be shared along the way. If you all could provide updates, but I wanted to just take that moment too to thank you all for participating in that. I know that's going to be a huge feat, and just glad that we're going to have our voices at the table for that search. Our CE specialist position, as I reported out, we're still trying to build out some support for our community engagement director. There is a bit of a backlog that has been reported to me. They are working on, it's on the desk of comp class to be able to review the job description so we can get it approved and make sure that the position duties are in alignment with the work that needs to be done, and also is a comparable rate for pay as well too. So just kind of wanted folks to know what's going on behind the scenes from an HR standpoint. And then my final report out is I wanted everyone to know that this was the second year in a row where I was one of the folks that had been invited to come to SPD's less lethal demonstration process and be able to see the tools that they would be using. Last year was the first year I had the opportunity to go and shared my thoughts about it. Went again this year, and our policy director was able to attend with us. And one of the things that we, had raised even as of last year is there going to be an opportunity for these demonstrations to be opened up for community members to have access to ask questions, provide feedback, and see what tools SPD will have access to or can use, and the reasoning and justifications behind it. And so we have offered that again, that we would like to either partner with them in some way to figure out how the community can have an opportunity to be able to review and sit in on those demonstrations. And if anybody has any feedback or any questions for me, please let me know. Other than that, those are my updates for this morning.
Thank you, Brandy. I think it's real important that we do what we can so that the community can see a demonstration on those less lethal tools that SPD is able to use. So thank you for that work. My only other comment was, do you anticipate that our new commissioner will be at our next meeting?
Yes. Also, thank you, Reverend Hunter. I am going to be reaching out to schedule all of their onboarding processes that are going to be necessary for them. And yes, I do anticipate that they will be at the next meeting. So all of the information for work groups, assignments, and that forth and such, yes, that will all be arranged and give you all an opportunity to connect with them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Director Grant?
I'd like to ask about the bowler app. I mean, I've seen the demonstrations. I've seen all of them. I wasn't at the one that she was, the one that you were at the other day, but I've seen them. Mm-hmm. So I just want to know your opinion. I mean, that would be your second time seeing the bowler app anyway, because you were there at the first demonstration that I was there for Mother's Day. So what do you?
Yeah, I Reverend Walden, as I shared last year, I was so excited about it because I had never seen it at that time. But we had some of the staff and I had set in through an online virtual training of it. So it's one thing to see it online and obviously quite another to see it in person. But what I think is going to be the most effective about that, and this is just from my mental health background, is the processes, how it's going to be explained, how it's used, how it's utilized, and best practices to me is what's going to make the most sense, because it all obviously is something that's never been used before. It'll definitely be something that's different, but I think it's a tool that's worth investing in, which SPD has done. And anything that is going to not cause for lethality or someone not being able to go home, I'm going to always be in favor of. And this would be something that would be extremely helpful and not harmful to someone. And at the end of the day, not only the individual who is in crisis or needs to be detained, beyond a, situation or whatever, this would be something that would not be harmful and would allow someone to be here the next day. So outside of that, that's probably my best thing that I could add. From a more technical standpoint, I know when we were there, we were given opportunities to take some pictures and video. And so I know Shailene was able to capture some of that. We kind of double teamed the situation between looking and reviewing and asking questions and trying to get pictures. We were able to do both at the same time. And so, like I said, I think it's really important, not only now I've been 2 years in a row, it's now an opportunity for someone else to go and be able to view these tools and hear a little bit more about what they're going to have access to and why it's important that they have these particular tools.
And that's for anyone, an individual who might have a wedge, a weapon, and they call it wedge. For us lay people, that's a knife. Mm-hmm. A wedge for us lay folks, that's a knife. And I was really excited about it because I saw it as one of the best tools that they've ever brought forth that could actually absolutely de-escalate, save an individual's life, and get that person up to Harbor View with no injuries to be able to have an evaluation. Now we know Harbor View is a revolving door because there's not enough beds. I mean, and that's the weak link. They could take them there, get them evaluated. They're going to be out with even before 72 hours. Again, might be homeless, might be going back to the same situation, but at least that person will have another day to be able to.
Absolutely.
So that's why we were excited for it, and we wrote a letter last year in support of the Bowler Wrap. I'm talking about my community work now. So
yeah. The only other thing also too that I would add is it was also really helpful, which I think is important to hear from SPD. They were able to share with us the evolution of tools that they had used in the past that they, saw themselves were not the best thing to use. And so that was the reason for also wanting to look out there and research and find some of these less lethals. And so, I was hopeful to hear from a lot of the officers that I obviously have, a ton of respect for, say like, there are things, that if we don't have this at our arsenal, there are tools that we need to be able to have less lethal tools, period, point blank. And they talked to us about the evolution of the things that they had used before and where they have progressed to now. And so it just made me hopeful just to hear kind of the mindset of we would prefer to use less lethal in situations because we also want people to be able to go home at the end of the day.
Thank you. And when the next opportunity comes up for perhaps commissioners to view that demonstration, if you would let us know, I'd like to see that. I see Shailene's hand and Officer Mullins, I see that you've turned on your camera. I don't know if that means you have a comment. So Shailene first. Okay.
Okay, thanks. So a couple of things I noticed about the Bowler Wrap. It is an interesting tool. And so definitely a proponent of less lethal weapons, anything that will get people home at the end of the day, have these engagements where if officers feel the need when they're engaging with someone to have a more calm scene or use some kind of restraint or use of force, that this is useful. So the two things that struck me as interesting and that I'm keeping an eye out for, one is that when we saw the demonstration, which Brandy is right, I do have a recording of the demonstration. They used it on Lauren from OPA. It was really interesting. So I'm going to see if I can download that. I'll get with the more tech savvy, I'll get with Jacqueline about that and see if I can send that around to everyone. So you can see how it works, just at least in through video. So the interesting part about it is that one, the officer that used, actually lieutenant that used the Bowler Wrap was talking about through their training, I believe he said they didn't really use it on folks that were running. So it'll be interesting to see how it's used in that way, because I think when folks, also less lethal, we're brought images of folks that were potentially harmed or even shot with a firearm while they were fleeing. And so the hope is, in my mind, is that this Bowler Wrap could be used for that. And will that be an effective tool? Because it's fired and it wraps around the person they're engaging with their arms or their legs and should stop them. So hopefully it'll also work that. So I'm sure SPD is working through that as well. And then two, it seems the cartridges that they use are about the same cost as a taser. So not too much concern there that maybe shared that burden, and tasers aren't necessarily being deployed. Some people have issues with those. Outside of that, I think it's just the noise. It is quite loud. It's a different sound from a firearm. But if you're not someone that's familiar with how a gun sounds when it goes off, I could see why it's alarming. It is quite loud, but you know, there's a lot of positive things here. So I'm still keeping a more optimistic view. What I think is crucial that Randy said, and I think Reverend Walden said as well, and what we offer to SPD is partnering to have engagements in the community where people can see the demonstration, where they can do what we did. I got to ask questions like, what were the best practices? How would this be used? What would the policy look like? You know, tell me about the different ways that you're trained in person through scenarios, and let people see how it works, let them ask questions, let them be even more informed about the decisions for this to be used. And then also folks will know what this sounds like, what this looks like if they see it in their community. And so no one is caught off guard. And so I think that has to be the crucial point with this tool and any other tools that are deployed by the department are going to do pilot testing, which this is supposed to do pretty soon, is that the community, they partner with us, other community leaders and organizations in order to have these demonstrations throughout Seattle so folks know what their police department is using within their community. So there isn't this feeling of shock or what is that or what is this sound, because that can be for some people very traumatizing. So that's kind of my feedback there. Again, I'll try and work on that video and see if I can have it sent around to folks. But overall, I am optimistic and hopeful for what this could bring.
Thank you. Thank you, Shailene. Let's move into any new business. And does the staff going to report on the annual report?
Sure, that is me again. Hi, everyone. So we have had some really interesting and really fun challenges. I say the word fun. We had someone on staff who was serving jury duty for 2 weeks. I say fun because I've always wanted to do this. And so we just had some issues here, not necessarily on a negative way, just I'm gonna shift a little bit. As we all know, I love to set my own internal deadlines for work. And I need to push back this a little bit just to allow people the space and opportunity to get the annual report. We have a template, everyone's working through their due diligence. So hoping to have a draft by the end of this month that can then go through the proper channels and then come out to the commission and have a working meeting. In addition, those of you who may or may not know, we did announce it, but staff was finally able to sign up for the Cornell Diversity and Inclusion certification program. So all of us started that, I believe, April 17th or beginning of May. So we're all most of us are in our second course. That has also taken a lot more time than we did not anticipate it taking, which is also good because I think we're all learning a lot and we're having conversation with each other. And it's been just a really wealth of information that I know that we'll be able to bring to the work and bring to our community engagement efforts and to share with you all. So just positive things that have actually kind of taken some of our capacity. So there has been a little bit of a slowdown, not too much, but I will keep you all updated, but I'm hoping for a more, sturdy draft by the end of this month.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any commissioners yes, Reverend Walden?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we wanted to, we talked about that in the governance or strategy meeting, is that make a space on the agenda for new commissioners if they're doing something exciting and they want to talk to us about it. And it came about because Suzette is also taking a class that Charlene just talked about. And when I talked to her, she was so excited about it. And, she just like had a lot of enthusiasm for this class on top of her workload, on top of all the things that she's doing. She had some enthusiasm. So, I know, so I just wanted to say, in the future, we'll have space on the agenda for commissioners like yourself who are actually doing some things that's maybe not being related, but it's interesting and could share that here. We wanted to make that space available, talked about that. And so I don't want to put Suzette Dickinson on the spot today, but just want to let her know that this will be available for her to actually share her enthusiasm about the class she's taken at the same with the. And I think it's really cool that a commissioner is taking the same class that staff is taking. I mean, you know, because, you know, inclusion is a new buzzword for the next decade. So, you know, every decade they give us a new word. So what is it called? Inclusion something. But
diversity and inclusion, yeah.
That's the new buzzword. And for them to get certified and be able to do that, you know, I thought it was really cool. So anyway, I'm just jazzed for Suzette, because she was so jazzed when she was talking about it. So want to open it up in the future for commissioners to come and give us their jazz news that they're working on out in the community for themselves and for the betterment of their own life, you know? Yeah.
Thank you, Reverend Walden. Suzette, did you, since your name has been brought up several times, is there anything you'd like to share?
Just that, you know, it really is, these classes are really enlightening because it makes you have to really, have to think and really process and look at your own, like my class that I took was understanding unconscious bias. And so really having to look at my own bias and how it relates to the work that we do. Because I mean, everybody has bias. And so to recognize what that is, and then to put the tools in place, or like the disruptors that you need in order to stop that bias. It was a really good class.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Any other new business? If not, we can move on to the work group updates. Police practices does not have an update at this point. I believe we will be meeting with behavioral health group. I think that's on Thursday. So we do not have an update at this point. How about community engagement?
Yes, thank you. Community engagement, just have a few things. We have been invited, the CPC has been invited to participate with the Festival Sanjata June 16th. June 17th, 18th, and 19th. And for those who don't know, are not familiar with it, it's been going on for many, many years here in the Seattle area at the Seattle Center. And it's a cultural, Black arts, music, food. It's a good time. So they have access to come and give information about CPC at a table. I have a sign-up sheet that I will be sitting around. I wanted to let you guys all know what it was about first. And it is for 3 days. And the way I have the sign-up sheet set up is it would be 2 people for a 2-hour shift that would like to participate. So I'm hoping that we can get some of the commissioners to come to the table. SPD, the CSOs and recruiting will be there as well, I know, but there'll be a lot of different community arts and crafts and things like that. So please look for the sign up sheet to come around. And the other thing is, I want to thank everybody on the call for all of the work. I missed the last meeting, the last CPC meeting, but I was on vacation. But I want to thank everybody that had any involvement with the, I'm going to say, success of the community engagement series with the monitoring team and the community. We have a lot of work to still do, but we are, you know, with all the engagement, it's great. I'm grateful for the participation and look forward to having more of the commissioners attend. And with that being said, I'm still looking for topics. We have a list of topics that we're, you know, putting together, but I want to have a good sturdy study pool of topics to pull from, because this next Tuesday's meeting, we were looking for someone to talk about the general practice of the union contracts, the police contracts, but we've shifted gears a little bit, and so we will be under the, you know, under the request of the council, the chair co-chairs and the executive director, we will be closing up the loop on some of the questions that are still lingering out there as far as from the four core topics from the monitoring team, which was use of force, crisis intervention, stopping detentions, and supervision. So I welcome and encourage you all to attend that meeting on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And let's see. That was basically about it that I had. So look for the sign up sheet, and please anticipate coming to the meeting on Tuesday. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Felicia. Any questions for Felicia? Okay, how about the state legislative work? Any updates there?
Yes, I think I don't see Austin anymore, so I can give the update. So we are working on putting together a presentation that we will give in a CE meeting about what the CPC did in this most recent legislative session. And also we'll be looking to hear from community any perspectives or thoughts that they have around issues that we should focus on in the upcoming session. We're also looking to establish our meeting schedule in what we are terming kind of the off season. And we're also looking to explore other ways that we can be involved in legislative processes in other arenas, so like in the local space. So those are the things that we're working through in SLA currently.
Okay. Thank you. How about complaint and appeals?
I'll go again.
Okay, thanks.
For complaint and appeals, the staff is doing some behind the scene work to look at how we will fund the activities that we are doing related to complaint and appeals. So what we're hoping to do is bring community members into that work group, and we obviously want to compensate people for their time and effort. So we're looking at how we can do that. We're hoping that by next month, we will be able to present to you all the work plan that we've developed for complaint and appeals for your approval so that we can move forward and actually begin that work.
Thank you. Thank you, Nia. How about the behavioral health op-ed?
Hi, River Hunter. I could give an update on that. This is Jacqueline Wu. So the op-ed, we were looking to transition the op-ed or like revise it, give it an update to have some more contextual space to it. So just a quick briefer, an op-ed is an opinion piece that are usually published in newspapers that represent a strong, informed, and focused opinion on the issue. It also has balanced data as well. It's not a press release, it's not a statement. So the original op-ed, which was created by both Catherine and Nia, had a strong stance about mental health crisis, how SPD has interacted in the past, especially around the Terry Caver case, the Charlena Lyles case as well. And like the argument was for more funding for mental health support as well. And so what I would like to propose, and the reason why we have to bring this to the commission is because this is also going to ask the commission to take a stance on this, is to contextualize the op-ed with what's going on in City Council right now. I know that Councilmember Nelson is putting forward a bill for additional incentives for SPD hiring recruitment. What I would like to argue for in this op-ed is to not only have incentives, but like also to have additional funding for SPD officers to have additional mental health crisis training, because we're just seeing repeat cases where those who are experiencing mental health crisis, when they're interacting with a police officer who's not ready or not trained, oftentimes that does end with someone's death. And we don't want that to happen anymore too. So asking for additional mental health training for officers, also stronger accountability for officers too, and then additional funding for mental health support for community members is what I would propose for this revamp of the op-ed.
Thank you. Will we be seeing the op-ed soon?
I can create a draft. I just wanted to workshop it with the commission to see if that's something that it would be interested in. I can create a draft and then have the commissioners review it, give me feedback and see how they feel about it as well. But just wanted to check in if that's a green light, go ahead, work on the draft before moving forward.
Okay. Officer Mullins?
The one comment that I will make about that, and I appreciate your information, is that when you are giving incentives for recruiting, it is paramount that we do that and put that first. If we don't have enough officers, we won't be responding to these calls. We won't have enough officers to respond to these calls, period. It's getting to the point. It is getting to the point where we are not having enough officers to cover the street. And so we have competing agencies surrounding SPD who are offering large bonuses to get trained officers who have already been through the academy. And they're getting those officers and they're sucking us dry, the SPD. So we need to have some kind of incentives to make people want to come to SPD. And I realize there are some people who say, oh, we're the best team. We're the team to come play for. Not anymore. So we need every tool in the toolbox to try to get people to come and apply to be police officers, because we need the numbers and we're behind, and we don't know when we're going to be able to catch up with numbers. Also, when we do presidential details like we just did for President Biden, we are starting to see how that's becoming almost impossible to do because we don't have the numbers. We take officers off the street and that leaves the street vulnerable. Our private citizens, while we're trying to protect the president. And I know that's important, but it's become those details that used to be easy for SPD to handle now become a great pull on our resources. Just so everybody is aware of that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Your input, Reverend Walden.
Yeah, I just like to say about the op-ed piece is that I think we should actually go back and look at the crisis intervention and look at the stats for real. I mean, the one that goes badly. But back in 2019, they had 10,000 calls and nobody was killed in 2019. I mean, so I think that we have to really go back and look at the stats ourselves and understand the ones that goes badly. But it's no place to talk about the ones that go right. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of calls that are answered correctly, but it's the revolving door. And I think if we're going to do this, we actually need to do the balanced piece on it. I mean, tell the truth about what is happening when it goes badly, but also talk about when it happens when it goes right. I mean, I always advocated for it because we got CIT because of our work. Wasn't it 1997 after Beauregard Mitchell was killed? I mean, and another elderly man early on. The reason why we have CIT, because we carried that water. We made sure that people who were in crisis needed to have something humane treatment. We brought the program from Portland to Seattle, and then the rest of it did. BOJ memorialized and improved what was already here. So I think sometimes we get caught up with all of the other things, but we're not looking at the stats. And then I think some people said that they had the stats wrong. And I think that Mr. Maxey was able to correct, to put out a statement that the stats was absolutely more correct than the individuals who said it wasn't correct. So for us, I think that's what is happening in Seattle, that somebody has to be willing to tell the truth on both sides. And maybe that has to be us. I mean, yeah, when it goes badly, you know, we still cry about Charlene Lyles because she was 97 pounds and they couldn't figure out how not to kill her. And I'm not a family member, but I'm a lover of Charlena. I mean, and we all are, all the women, all the Black women in this town was affected, and then other women. So we're clearly affected by the, and Mr. Caver, I mean, and then the man on, you know, so yeah, but let's have our stats out there that says what's true, the ones that went badly, but let's talk about the ones that go right. And that's most of the calls. And the mythology out there is that every call that comes into CIT, somebody gets killed. That's not true. It's not true, really and truly. And most officers are trained. It's been no training since COVID because we wanted to take the 40 hours. And when the training is up again, I will take the 40 hours. I've taken the 8 hours. But we need some more commissioners to take the 40 hours. We haven't had anybody take the 40 hours since Helen was here, and Helen been gone 2 years. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tell the truth about it. Goes good, tell it. When it goes badly, it goes badly because we know that the family member is, family's gonna have to prepare to bury somebody when it goes badly. But most of the calls, and actually before May 2020, the crisis intervention in Seattle was one of the best in the nation. They have autism, modular. They teach their officers how to deal with people who have autism. I mean, I used to go to the meetings for the CPC. I was at those meetings. So I'm not making rhetoric up here. I'm making because I went to the meeting and I went for the CPC at that time. Haven't been able to go lately, but the people in charge of always sends us the records and always sends us all the PowerPoints. So we have the PowerPoints for every quarterly meeting for the CPC, for the CIT, and it's available for the commissioners and for the staff to see. So, I mean, and you know, some people say they're true and balanced and they're not, but I think we can write an article with Jacqueline there and give Catherine some dap on starting this to tell the real truth about CIT, because I'm an advocate for it, because we worked hard for Mr. Beauregard Mitchell. He was 82 years old that got killed by the Seattle Police Department. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Jacqueline, do you have enough to go on?
I do have enough to go on. Thank you very much. And thank you to both commissioners as well for their helpful feedback.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? I think we're getting close to the end of our agenda.
I think so. I think it's one more thing. I think that the city attorney, I don't know if the city attorney is on there because I think there's going to be a change in June 1st. I think the governor sent out a directive, and I don't know, maybe Director Grant could talk about it, but is Teresa on? I mean, there's now a directive. Hi, Teresa. Could you give us an update about the directive that's coming out for June 1st?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for bringing that up, Reverend Walden. So the governor announced, I believe last Friday, that he's going to be rescinding Proclamation 2028. And Proclamation 2028 is what changed the OPMA requirements during the pandemic. So that goes into effect starting June 1st. That means during this time under Proclamation 2028, while we've been defaulting to virtual with an in-person option in more recent months, we are now looking at starting June 1st, going back to a physical location for meetings with remote being optional. So all of the city's boards and commissions are preparing starting June 1st to have a physical location for public attendance. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of the commissioners need to be on site, but what it does mean is that there will need to be room reservations and staff on site to provide a physical space for the public to attend, just as we did, in February 2020. Right. So I'm happy to coordinate with staff to figure out whatever that means. It probably requires coordinating with FAS, whoever's handling the board and commission scheduling for these meeting rooms starting June 1st. And I believe this commission has a meeting on that date, correct?
Right, we do, and we have, you know, they set up the third floor with the table already. It's already a big room. It's already a space that was big enough for us anyway. Mm-hmm. When we went from 15 to 21, the conference room on the third floor is what we've been using in the past. And so I'm sure the staff can work on that to see if this is available for June 1st. Yeah, thank you.
Teresa, I'm sorry, Reverend Walden. Teresa, I just sent you something to follow up.
I'm good.
I see it. Thank you.
Alina?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up, if we're moving to a space where we're having in-person meetings again, just wanted to re-elevate the conversation about when we're having those meetings to make them accessible to more of the public. During the day, just isn't accessible to people. And I know that that's kind of our sector is like 9 to 5, even though I know that people work beyond 9 to 5 on this call, probably everybody. But just really trying to think about how to make these meetings accessible, especially to, you know, people that just don't have the privilege of being able to walk away, you know, during the day to attend a meeting. So I think we need to have some kind of conversation about, you know, what these in-person meetings, virtual, in-person, whatever, what that's going to look like. And if we have the possibility of making it a hybrid, so folks that maybe don't feel comfortable coming in person can still participate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alina. I think that's what I heard though, Teresa, you're saying that we have to have a physical space, but we could also make room for those who want to join virtually.
Right.
Right, so there's, we're getting a little bit of OPMA whiplash because the governor's rescinding Proclamation 2028 doesn't cleanly align with the effective date of the new OPMA legislation, which is June 9. So we have this weird window between June 1 and June 8 where we are operating under pre-pandemic OPMA. So that defaults to a physical location. Pre-pandemic, I guess the current statutory OPMA doesn't recognize virtual attendance, but I know that some commissions, for example, the Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission did have commissioners attending by telephone. So in the place of their seat at the table, there would be a speakerphone there. I know for CPC, for many years before the pandemic, your meetings have been in person. So I'm not sure if having partial telephone or partial virtual attendance is consistent with what the commission wants. But definitely starting June 9 under the new OPMA legislation, the legislation makes it very clear that commissioners do not have to attend in person. Okay. But even if no commissioners attend, we still need a physical space.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
Sorry, Reverend Hunter, can I just re-elevate? Thank you for just clearing that up from my own head, but just again, kind of wanting to bring up the conversation about when our meetings are and what it would look like to restructure those in a way that is more accessible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lena. Mm-hmm. Well, if there's nothing else, I will just do a wrap-up statement that says thank you for joining today's meeting and have a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you for facilitating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hunter. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Thank you.